All right. Sydney, I think you have the media literacy moment for us.
Yeah, so I just want to take a step back and get a little bit more analytical. Today's media literacy tip is all about source checking. I think, especially given some of the things we talked about earlier in the segment today, I think it'll be helpful. I am especially thinking about this. I was reading and watching segments on the big, beautiful bill. I'm using air quotes for those who are listening on the podcast. And I really just want to kind of help us really when it comes to source checking, looking at things in a way that is just going to the original source. So I just want to say that anyone can publish anything online. I think it's really, really important to be mindful of that, especially when things might feel like they're true. But these feelings that we get from things that articles give us, they are trying to give us feelings. They're trying to make us angry, make us upset. And so I just want to remind people that feelings aren't factual information. So before you share or believe a claim, I really want you to pause and ask yourself a couple of questions. So I'll give three things that I always kind of tell my students that I want them to think about before maybe sharing something and just thinking about if you want to share this. So the first thing is, who wrote this? I want you to look at, is the author who wrote credible, and are they clearly identified in the post? So can you find out who wrote it? Is it, for example, a common news source like the New York Times, or is it some arbitrary news source that doesn't have any kind of confirmation, has 1,000 followers on Instagram, and is kind of just like spitting out different kinds of news cycles with catchy titles? That's the first thing to be aware of. Who wrote this? The second thing is, where was it published? So does it have sources? Does it have editorial standards? Is it a sketchy blog? All of these things can kind of be red flags. So, especially blogs with like clickbaity titles, you kind of want to be aware of and mindful. These are just kind of flags that I notice right away. Not everything obviously needs to be from like one source. I know that we publish a lot on Substack and do a lot of our own research. So, that's not necessarily the end all be all, but it is something to be mindful of. And then the last thing that I look, and my favorite thing to look for, is, can I verify this information elsewhere? I really ask my students to look for triangulation to see if other trusted outlets can verify the source or are reporting the same story.
Excellent. I think those are all piece of great advice that folks can do. And I think there's a context to what you said there that's important too, which is slowing down, right? This stuff takes time. And we talked in an earlier segment about how so much of the culture wants us just to share. What you're describing there doesn't take forever, right? You can do this in a reasonable amount of time, depending on the topic, right? But it does take some time, and I think it's breaking that cultural sense that I have to know everything and share everything and be on top of everything all the time. That's an impossibility, and we end up being on top of nothing. And I think the tips you led there are a much more constructive path to being well informed. Hey, detoxers. You've been listening to the Disinfo Detox. If you value smart takes and sharper media literacy, support us at patreon.com/disinfodetox. No cash, no sweat. Just like, comment, follow, and share. Even a one-word reaction boosts the signal. Thank you for supporting the Disinfo Detox, where media literacy meets breaking news.